Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, and a big thank you to all. It was brief, but my great TED Talks innovation book made it to number 1 and number 2 on the Amazon's hot new releases. So thank you so much. I think it was the number 1 that was paperback and number 2 was the Kindle version. But hey, I'm quite aware it probably wouldn't have made it there without you and your support over the last few years. So thank you. Now, I always say to you guys and dolls listening to this podcast that it's not my show, it's your show. It's you that makes this work. And I mean that more than you could know. But before I get all teary and start blaming it on cutting up onions, let's get today's guest onto the podcast. And today I want to learn more about a company called Databook. And for those of you that don't know, the Databook customer intelligence platform combines predictive intent data, real-time insights, and time-saving productivity tools to try and help improve selling performance across the enterprise. And after learning that every sales rep that uses Databook, regardless of experience or skill set, can deliver the right pitch for the right audience at the right time, essentially using technology to help build true sustainable customer value and right from the first conversation. When I learned all that, I had to get them on the podcast today. And it's also, as far as I'm aware, the first enterprise customer intelligence platform built to increase go-to-market productivity at scale. As soon as I find any information on a company like this, I find myself getting incredibly curious and asking questions like, so how is this company using technology to improve productivity in the world of sales? And how does this technology and the solution actually help adapt enterprise sales in this new period of uncertainty? Well, these are just a few areas that I wanted to explore. So if you would too, I invite you to come and join me for an intriguing conversation right now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Neil. So my name is Anna Karpowicz. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Databook. I am, as you can probably tell from the accent, from the UK originally, but been in California now for 5 years. I'm very fortunate actually to run an amazing tech startup called Databook. It's just come out of stealth 3 months ago. And we support our customers driving $1 billion plus pipeline in their businesses across their global operations. And we're supporting them close 3 times larger deals on average when they're using Databook. We've been doing this for about 3 years now as Databook. But before me and my co-founder started Databook, I was an engagement partner at Accenture. And I felt the pain really personally when I was a consultant and I was working with customers actually. Back from the last recession, we were in the midst of a consulting engagement, trying to create some new relationships at the C-suite, and we really need to come up with a way for thinking about what's this customer going through, what are their pain points, what's their urgency, what should they be focused on next, and really helped me to understand how you would resolve that problem, how you come up with a solution, and then deliver that. And it was, I think, personally very satisfying, but more importantly, it was very helpful for the customer, who then had a very clear roadmap and a plan as to how they could go and execute. And they had a $100 billion organization, so a lot of operations globally. And so we took that idea and I kind of ran with it manually whilst I was at Accenture for about 5 years, ran a global team there and left them in 2015. And Databook's now been able to take part of what was a manual approach and something that I'd personally seen work, but then automate that, put that into software, make that scalable. So now every enterprise seller can use Databook to be as best as the best rep.
And it's my understanding that Databook Customer Intelligence Platform is actually combining predictive intent data, real-time insights, and time-saving productivity tools in an attempt to improve selling performance across the enterprise. But for people just hearing about it for the first time, can you tell me a little bit more about that and the kind of problems that you guys set out to solve?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think maybe just to bring a bit of an analogy in here, just think about how door-to-door sales has happened for hundreds of years, maybe a little bit closer to home. Think about 50 years ago, and you might have a door-to-door Encyclopedia Britannica salesmen sort of knocking on doors and sort of offering out these books. If you think about what's happening today in sales, not much has changed overall. You see, you've got digital sales and you may have some leads coming through the marketing funnel, but it's still quite a rudimentary method. Going in, speaking to someone, do you have this problem? This is my product. Would you like it? What's the price? Putting a quote out, hoping for them to buy it, and then closing into a sale. You need to have a certain number of deals and a pipeline to make that work. So I think what Databook's really solving is being a lot more predictive around that, trying to be smart about which doors to knock on, what products to offer, and then where to focus your time. And so what we're doing is we're having a look at where are all of the demand generation signals, which are actually out there in the ether right now, and being able to use those to focus reps' time and their attention on the accounts where they've got the biggest propensity to buy. And so, just taking all of that into account, you sort of bring it down to what have the best reps been doing for the last 40 years, the ones who have been closing $1 million plus sales in the enterprise for, year over year. They've been reading about their customers and understanding their customers' business just as well, sometimes even better than their customer does. And the way in which they do that is they actually have to do quite a bit of research. They go into annual reports, they understand how the customer makes money, they go and have a look at the latest earnings calls, they read the transcripts, sort of understand what investors are asking them in terms of questions. They're reading the press releases, looking at new product releases, they're reading up on profiles on LinkedIn. And then they're sometimes looking at the news or the social media. And I put that last thing, I put the news and social media last because, just keep in context. If you're reading something about your customer in the popular press, then you're only at table stakes with your customer. The other 5 points are the ones that actually give you the edge, the predictive capability to actually be better than them and understand their business. And it gives you that ability to empathize and stand in their shoes and think about what they would need to do next.
And for all those sales reps listening, looking at leveraging technology to make their life a bit easier, can you offer any use cases that will just highlight the kind of problems that it could solve for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So let's just take one example. We were taking a look at with a customer of ours just a few weeks ago. She was working on a $2 million deal, and it was her biggest deal in her pipeline. She had forecasted that to close in the next quarter. And, she was speaking to her customer champion. She'd been working on it for about 7, 8, 9 months, and everything looked great. Customer was saying, this is on plan. This is important. They'd done all of the due diligence, put together a business case. There was a whole kind of coordinated strategy. But what was going on at the same time is that she was watching this company's stock price and it was going down 50%. And so the question there is, should you be concerned? And if anyone who's out there as a sales rep is thinking, if my company's customer stock price gone down 50%, yes, you should be very concerned. And the reason is because the investor community has already forecasted that actually this company's not going to be doing as well in the coming year or 2 or 3 years than they've done in the last 2 or 3 years. And what that means is that they're going to have to look at ways to save money. And so if you look carefully, then just peel back the onion one layer, back to some of those data points I shared earlier, you could read that the CEO saying that actually they're going to cut all of their capital expenditures for 2020, and they've reduced their guidance for the year, and they're expecting, rather than growing by 10% this year, they're going to actually decline by 10% this year. So now you bring it back to the sales rep, and they're forecasting this deal in the next couple of months. It's in their interest to go back, test this not only with the customer champion, but actually with the economic buyer, probably the CFO, and actually go and test out, is this actually a real deal this quarter or not? And even before you get access to the CFO, then go and put that deal now out to Q4. Because the AE, the sales manager, everyone is reporting to CRO going into the CFO's forecast. Everyone needs to understand, where are these deals likely to close? If it closes in Q2, great, you'll be a hero. More likely it's going to close in Q4 at best at this point. So that's just one example.
And Databook identifies which accounts to prioritize and also which buying groups have pain and urgency, and then automatically builds this hyper-personalized point of view to engage with the customers. But if we take a look under the hood, can you tell me a little bit more about the technology that makes all that possible?
Yeah, so I mean, I think one thing that we had to spend quite a lot of time was codifying a lot of domain expertise that I was bringing to the table from my prior experience. And one of the ways in which doing that was to use an API web server, does all auto scaling built on Heroku and AWS. And then we were thinking carefully about how you architect the front, the back end, so it's always up to date, always in real time. And so we built it all in JavaScript so that anytime we've got a full stack developer, they can work easily both on the front and the back end. And then in addition to that, we have a whole multitude of different data warehouses, some for performance, some for speed, like MongoDB, Redis, Postgres, and they make all that magic happen in the front end. So when you're a rep going in or you're a manager going in, you can go and do a search on your target customer, your target account, or a prospect very, very quickly. And all of that information, which is out there in the ether, is synthesized for you. So within 30 seconds, you can get a read on who are the key buyers who would likely have pain and urgency at your target account. You can go in and have a look at what would be the highest, most recommended solution and sales player use case that your customer is likely to buy. You can even go out and have a look at what's the likelihood, what's the actual value of that solution for the customer. So we give you a relative business case that you can present to your customer based on your historical experiences. And all of that's baked on all of the financial performance, all of the management intent, what the customer is looking to go and buy into very, very quickly. So we give you all of that super quick, super fast. But the idea is you want to take a little bit of time to go research that, prepare your pitch, your call script, and then you go and engage with your customer. That's hopefully that gives you a bit of background on what we do.
Absolutely. And you did say a few moments ago that you came out of stealth earlier this year. And in that time, even though it's only been a few months, the world has completely changed. So how does this tech and the solution that you've created help adapt enterprise sales in this new period of uncertainty that we all find ourselves in now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely going to be a lot of companies who are going to be very challenged in a particular vertical or a particular horizontal play. For example, you might be focused on recruitment. Recruitment's obviously going to be massively hit right now. There's a lot less companies recruiting today than there were just 3 months ago. So we've been very, very fortunate that that over the last 6 weeks, we've had more customers come and join and on board at Databook than we had in the prior year. And I think when I look back and I'm trying to understand why is that the case? Is that because we came out of stealth? Is that because we did some better marketing? Is that because we had just a lot more people referring to us? I think there's a lot of different factors, but one of them for sure that I think has changed the game. And some of our customers, they call Databook their sales contingency planning tool. So whatever you had planned in January or February is now completely irrelevant when you got to April or May. And so I think that's been something we've seen a lot of our customers really focus in on their forecast in the current quarter. What are the deals that are most likely to close? Which are the ones which are least likely? And then what do you have in your pipeline for the rest of the year? And how can you get your team really focused on generating pipeline in all of those accounts which have the highest propensity to buy? And I think that's another sort of aspect to this, kind of just thinking through that. You can often look through the accounts that you're working on or you've been given in a territory. And what we found is that maybe 90 to 95% of the prioritization of your time is as a sales rep, is often focused on the largest accounts with the most revenue or the most numbers of employees or the customers who are paying you the most. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that it's not necessarily taking into account all of the demand generation signals. So which companies are actually looking who have got this tailwind right now? And I'll give you an example, like a company like Citrix. Their stock price is up 57% just in the last year. And they've got this huge shot in the arm because now remote working from home for the enterprise in a secure, scalable way is what they've been doing for years. But now all of their enterprise customers have just turned on the switch and new customers have come to them massively. So if you're selling anything related to customer experience, to customer service, to sales, now's the time to be engaging with Citrix because they need all the support they can do to drive that demand. Last year, they grew by just 1%. This year, they're forecasting they're going to grow by about 10%. To manage that kind of demand and provide that kind of exceptional customer service, they're going to also have to do some things differently too. So just a bit of an example there.
And I'm curious, now the world has changed, what are the differences between the old tactics and the new ones that are going to be required now, do you think?
So I mean, I think there's probably there's massive change to marketing. Obviously, there's a lot less in-person events happening now. I think there's just naturally going to be a lot lower volume of leads coming through the funnel in the traditional sense. So I think part of the new status quo will require sales to be generating a lot more of their own pipeline individually. And so you've heard of words like account-based marketing, account-based sales. I think those account-based selling is going to become more important. That means being really personalized, really focusing on the value and the quality rather than the volume of actual lead generation, focusing on which accounts, which customers, which buyers in those accounts have the most pain urgency, where your solution actually can drive value in their business this year. I think it's going to be absolutely crucial that if you have a solution, you clarify the value you can drive in 2020. How much revenue can you deliver in the next 7 months? How much costs can you take out for the company, or how much risk can you reduce from their portfolio? And be really specific on the next 7 months, because there's some time it might take you to get up to speed, to configure, to enable a business. Can you provide a payback this year? If anything can provide a payback this year, I think there's going to be a lot of companies very interested in that. The other thing I've noticed as well from an enterprise seller perspective is that quite often there are meetings being put in the diary, and there's quite a lot of meetings. So in particular for senior leaders in your organization, think about how you can best leverage their times to do more peer-to-peer conversations with your customers. If you're working with, say, the VP of IT at one of your largest customers that you want to do business with, then see if there's an opportunity to engage your CFO with their CFO, for example, and talk about a peer-to-peer relationship about scenario planning, forecasting, and how your solution helps them, as one example. I think the other one, just in terms of other suggestions we're seeing, is not waiting until the meeting to then show up and bring your presentation and demo your product. If there's any way for you 24 to 48 hours in advance of the call to share the materials, secure the meeting, and it can also then invite other folks to the call, I think we're seeing that to be a very successful way of running sales calls and driving pipeline. I think that is different. A lot of reps have been waiting to the call, and then they turn up with a presentation, and then they talk through it, and they bring some experts on the call. I think that time may have gone a little bit. Now's time to be really specific to your customer and show up as much as you can ahead of time and impress and bring an amazing sales and customer experience for their business.
So do you think the global crisis will see more enterprises beginning to leverage tools and leverage technology to be more strategic with selling, or are they just going to be busy trying to survive? Or what are you seeing out there at the moment?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think you just have a look at the stock prices for the enterprise software companies, which are the most likely to win here. Anything related to collaboration, anything related to some kind of a networking, something like a Zoom, Microsoft, Twilio, all of those companies' stock prices are going through the roof right now, because working from home, remote working, collaboration, just connecting, all of these sorts of technologies are critical right now. Imagine if we'd had this pandemic 10 years ago. We didn't have any of this tech. How would we be able to conduct business or work from home, even record this podcast? I mean, we'd probably be dialing in on a call and probably talking through it, but we couldn't share screen. We probably wouldn't be doing video. We wouldn't have had the bandwidth up and running to support that at scale. So I think we're very fortunate that the technology, both the hardware, the software, is in place for us to be able to do that. It is also creating a bit of a differentiation between companies that are ready to provide that. I mentioned a bunch of companies whose stock prices are up massively. Unfortunately, that's not the case for all companies. Some companies in some areas of storage or security or cybersecurity or DevOps, you look at their businesses and they're down 40, 50, 60%. And so it is creating both a challenge, but also an opportunity for those companies then to pivot into other industries or to pivot into slightly different products, which they've been tinkering around with, and sort of bring those to market quickly.
And I also believe Databook secured $5 million in seed funding recently. So can you tell me a little bit more about exactly what that means to you all at Databook and how it's going to help you guys advance forward too?
Yeah, sure. So, we were very, very fortunate to get a large seed round. I think it's probably on the higher end of seed round funding. We've been operating for over 3 years. So when we were sort of looking at investors, we were looking at the way in which we could sort of continue to build a business. And actually, we're very fortunate that one of our customers actually started introducing me to some VCs, and they were asking us to do more, to bring more product to market faster. And so it was kind of a great catalyst for us. And so now we've raised the money. We've been very judicious about where we want to focus the money and the time, in particular around the engineering and also into the sales for our business. And we've got more demand than we can actually satisfy right now. It's hard for us to be able to respond to customers quickly and be able to support their needs, but we're just about managing that. And then on top of that, then we've got a bunch of product and R&D work that we're doing, both in delivering for our existing customers and scaling up with them very quickly. But as well, we're bringing out some new features and some new products. And one of the things I'm most excited about is thinking about how we drive performance for the individual. And so I was just sort of looking at my Apple Watch this morning as I was going for my morning run. I was thinking about a year ago how I would never get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning to go for a run, let alone do that, sort of 3-4 times in a week. And something like an Apple Watch, I feel, has made a massive difference personally and for a lot of people in terms of their health. So small nudges, just are you getting up 12 times a day? Are you doing a 30-minute brisk walk every day? That's the kind of small nudges that Databook's going to be providing later this year to our customers. Have you done your research on these accounts? Have you looked at what their earnings calls are doing? Have you come back in? And we provide that today to our customers. We're going to make it even easier for them to be nudged into these performance characteristics and behaviors going forward that will make them very, very successful.
Fantastic. And before I let you go, is there anything else you can share with us today about the future of Databook? Appreciate you're probably locked down and can't share too much, but are there any teasers you could leave us with?
I mean, I think I gave you a little bit of a hint there just into where we're heading now, in terms of sales coaching and performance. Those are kind of big characteristics we're focused on. More integrations with even more software and with more CRMs. We work today, it's integrated with Salesforce. We want to be bringing out later this year integrations with Microsoft Dynamics as an example. And I think, where we'll be looking to go is to continue to double down on our core market of enterprise sales, continue working with a lot of companies in that space, expanding rapidly with them, supporting even more of their enterprise sellers. We've got a global platform with all of the accounts in the enterprise companies globally. So we want to continue making that data set really rich and improving the real-time nature of our data set to make it even faster. I think, speed and quality is always something we're going to focus on and make sure we've got a very good reputation for that. And we want to continue making sure we can continue providing that to all of our customers. So hopefully that gives a bit of an indication. I think the performance characteristics, just small nudges like that performance behavior thing I mentioned earlier, is probably the big thing that we're focused on.
Excellent. And for anyone that would like to find out more information, can you just point them in the best direction of finding your website and even contacting your team if they would like to carry this conversation on that we started today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you can go to our website at www.trydatabook.com. We've got a LinkedIn page. We have a Twitter handle. We're putting out a bunch of updates quite regularly at the moment. And if anyone's got any interest in Databook, then feel free to contact us at info@trydatabook.com.
Well, I love what you guys are doing here. Like we was talking about a few moments ago, the Databook Custom Intelligent Platform is combining predictive intent data, real-time insights, and saving productivity tools to improve sales performance across the enterprise. But what I love most about what you guys are doing is it's aimed at regardless of experience or skill set. And I think that is so important now. We're in a world where we're seeing new tech solutions coming in only a handful of people can use and end up causing more confusion than anything else. But I wish you the best of luck for the future, and a big thank you for coming on and sharing your story today.
Thanks for having me, Neil. Appreciate it.
The company works with some of the world's leading enterprise sales companies, and results from current customers shows that Databook can increase pipeline size by as much as 3 times. And as I've said before, historically, recessions and downturns are usually a great catalyst for innovation. So it's great to see how today's guest is leveraging tools to be more strategic, especially when selling. But do you have any experience with tech improving sales? If so, this is the moment where I ask you to, yes, I do mean you, if you're listening and you've got a point to make here, please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk, but you know that by now. I know I ask you at the end of every episode, and I know some of you secretly want to email but think, no, he doesn't want to hear from me. Well, I do. So please keep those messages coming in. If not, I'll return tomorrow with another guest. So thanks for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.